Believers love to ask this question, especially to secular people or atheists in any discussion about faith. They love to ask them, wait, so who created the world? And then they bring up an analogy. When you see a watch, what do you say? A watchmaker made it. When you see a chair, what do you say? A carpenter made it. The same thing, look at the world. Who made it? God, supposedly. Now, I'll leave aside the fact that the analogy doesn't really match the subject, because in the analogy we know from life experience that a carpenter makes a chair and nature doesn't make chairs. After all, when I walk in nature and see a tree in the forest, what do I say? I say that nature, that is the tree, comes from a seed, the wind blew it, and suddenly a tree grew. I don't say that because from experience I know that trees sometimes grow naturally. A chair, nature doesn't make chairs, and nature also doesn't make watches. But I see that people make chairs and people make watches. Watchmakers make watches, carpenters make chairs. So when I see a chair, I say carpenter. Experience teaches me that a carpenter made it, but I have no experience in creating worlds, that I've seen God create the world several times, and then I say, oh, here's another world, so it must be God. That's what you do with a carpenter and a chair. You see many chairs, you know it's a carpenter or a carpentry company. You say carpenter or watchmaking company. But let's set aside the analogy and the subject for a moment. Regarding God, who created the world? Let's say I go along with their analogy. Look how they fall into their own analogy. What do they claim? They claim when you see a watch, what do you say? A watchmaker made it. When you see a chair, who made it? The carpenter. And then let's continue this analogy. When you see a book, who wrote it? Suppose it's a book. Who wrote the book? Who would come up with the idea that the book wrote itself? Obviously, the one who wrote it is a person. Who authored the book? Did the religion arise by itself, just from nature? No. What, did God write it? No. An author wrote it. A person wrote it. So if the author's name is written there, then we know who the author is. If the author's name isn't written, then we don't know who the author is. And we don't say that if we see a book that nature created it or that God created it, wrote it. So if I go along now with the believer's analogy, and it doesn't matter which religion, they all fall into the same trap, Christians, Muslims, and religious Jews alike. So if you see a book, who wrote it? A person. Just like if you see a song, who created it? A person. Because if you see a chair, who made it? A person. Same with a book. A book. Books are written by people. So that's the essential difference, in fact, between biblical scholars and the so-called nonsense of Chazal, or of believers in general. They come and assume that all the Holy Scriptures were written by God, or that only part was written by God and the rest is prophecy, but it's a divine part from above, that's it, divinely inspired. And that's why Chazal believes so. And that's their assumption throughout the Talmud. They believe that all of the Bible must be a single unit, whole, harmonious, with no contradictions. Everything is complete. Everything is amazing. So what do they do when there are contradictions? So I call it fun for the crazy. If you see a contradiction, no problem. You saw a contradiction where once it says, Caleb son of Jephunneh from the tribe of Judah, and then Caleb son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, and then Caleb son of Hezron. No problem, it's the same person, no problem at all. Kenizzite, it's all good. They even combine people. Darius is Cyrus. For the crazies, there's no problem saying these things. And that's why I call it fun for the crazy. Because for them, the word doesn't obligate them. They see a contradiction. So what? It's not a big deal. So just like I showed in the previous video about Caleb son of Jephunneh and how they combine things that don't fit, it's completely abandoned. And Azuba is actually a disease and a young woman of two women. Whoever wants can listen to the previous video. So in this video, I want to show you an example that is very likely was written about. That the Holy Scriptures were written by several people, and that's why there are also things that are unclear, not organized, because the editing of this whole Bible, it's actually quite sloppy editing. There wasn't really anyone who seriously came, filtered out duplications, filtered out contradictions, and tried to make it into one coherent sequence. No, it's just layer upon layer, cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste, without editing it in a thorough way. So for example, in this video, I want to talk about Jair, son of Manasseh. It says like this in the book of Numbers, chapter 32, verse 41. And Jair, son of Manasseh. Manasseh is the son of Joseph. Joseph had Ephraim and Manasseh while still in Egypt. Now Jair, who was the son of Manasseh, meaning, in other words, that he was actually the grandson of Joseph, one of the 12 sons of Jacob, also known as Israel. It is written in the book of Numbers, chapter 32, verse 41. And Jair, son of Manasseh, went forth and captured their villages. He went out and took possession of, that is, he conquered territories located on the eastern side of the Jordan River before the Israelites themselves crossed over the Jordan. He then called these villages Havoth Yair, naming them after himself, Havoth Yair, which means villages of Yair. And furthermore, in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 3, verse 14, it says, Jair, son of Manasseh, took all the region known as Argob and called them after his own name, Havoth Yair. And this name remains to this very day. Now when you see the phrase, to this day, it means that this was written later than the period when Jair captured the region of Argob or the Gilead or all of that, and called them Havoth Yair to this very day. In other words, at the time of the author, these places were still called Havoth Yair. So, okay, Jair, son of Manasseh, took territories from the Gilead, from the region of Argob, and he called them Havoth Yair. That's according to Numbers and according to the book of Chronicles. In Judges it says the following, Judges chapter 10 verse 3, and after him arose Jair the Gileadite. Gileadite, meaning from Manasseh, the son of Joseph. Joseph begot Manasseh, Manasseh begot Machir, Machir begot the Gileadite, and the Gileadite had about 5 more sons. So after him arose Jair the Gileadite, and he judged the children of Israel for 22 years. Then it says in Judges chapter 10 verse 4 that he had 30 cities, meaning 30 cities. They are called Havoth Yair to this very day. Now here, suddenly in the book of Judges, when the Israelites have already entered the land and many years have passed, and the Rabbinic comes and asks a question, wait, what's going on here? Is the Jair mentioned here in Judges the same Jair from the Torah? That can't be. The Jair from the Torah is like the grandson of Joseph. So Radak, Rabbi David Kimhi, did the math and said, let's see. So what? He's 300 years old? That's impossible. And then he says, so if there are two different Jairs, then how is it that both places are called Havoth Yair exactly? The whole story doesn't add up. So he says maybe it's not clear. Maybe these are 2 different places and both were called Havoth Yair. And the text, the author, didn't try to sort it out. Now let's look at what is written in the book of Chronicles 1, chapter 2, verse 21, where actually this Yair is actually from the tribe of Judah. And then in Chronicles 1, chapter 2, verse 21, it says, and afterward, as in after that came Hezron, who is a descendant of Judah. He came to the daughter of Machir, meaning Machir. We said he is the son of Manasseh, the grandson of Manasseh, who is the great-grandson of Joseph. So he actually took the daughter of Machir from the tribe of Manasseh, the father of Gilead, and then she bore him Segub. So Hezron, the father from the tribe of Judah, married a woman from the tribe of Manasseh. And then she bore him Segub, and Segub fathered Jair. And he had 23 cities in the land of Gilead. So wait, what's going on here? Who is this Jair suddenly mentioned in Chronicles? He's actually a descendant of Hezron. He's from the tribe of Judah. His father is from the tribe of Judah. His mother is from the tribe of Manasseh. And after all, when there is a son, inheritances pass through the son. And just look at the acrobatics of the sages, in the sense that they say whatever suits them, whatever is convenient for them, for example, when they debated whether a husband inherits his wife or not. Because a woman does not inherit her husband, but the husband inherits his wife. That's how they ultimately ruled in Halakha. And where do they get it from? They bring this verse. Look, it says that Segub begot Jair, and he had 23 cities. And then they ask, wait, how did Jair have 23 cities? That's the question here, and it's very puzzling. What do you mean? How did he have them? Did he receive them from Segub, or did he conquer them, as it says in the book of Numbers? In the book of Numbers, it says that Jair, son of Manasseh, went and took their villages. He conquered them. So apparently we have to assume that they thought the Jair here is not the same Jair as in the Torah. And then they ask, wait, and then they decided that's how they understood it. It's a very strange understanding of the sages. Well, by now I've gotten used to their nonsense. They understood that Segub did not have 23 cities. Only Jair had 23 cities. Segub is Jair's father. So they ask, wait, how did Jair have 23 cities? So they say, he married a woman who had inherited 23 cities. She died. And Jair inherited her. From here we learn that a husband inherits his wife. This discussion appears in the tractate Bava Batra 111b, and this is what I call fun for the crazies. It really is fun for them, fun for them. They want to bring proof that a husband inherits his wife. What's the problem? You take a verse and say, wait, where did Jair get 23 cities from? And then you apparently make up that the woman, nothing is written in the text, the woman, he married a woman who had 23 cities, and she died, and he inherited them. Tell me you haven't lost your mind. And besides that, I believe that Hamas needs to be eliminated.